Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petite to Queen's Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Lynn, and today I'm joined by our very special guest, Dr. Ruth Mary Allan. And today we're going to be talking about how to free your pain by stimulating brain health. This is going to prove to be quite fascinating, and I want to tell you about Dr. Ruth Allan, and she's the other Dr. Ruth. She is the lead Amen Clinic's certified brain health professional in the UK, an executive coach, motivational speaker, brain health trainer, and host of the show Brain Health, Unchaining Your Pain. I want to tell you that Ruth is also, that's not it, there's more, is also the founder of the Wellbeing Warrior Academy, focused on helping you take charge of your well-being and be the boss, and was recently recognized by Brains Magazine CRE Global Awards for her contribution to mental health. Industry leaders, family leaders, and entrepreneurs hire Dr. Ruth to win back their energy and time doing what they love by boosting their brain power and performance, because most are chained to their past, don't use the right tools and techniques, and have never measured and optimized their unique brain. So, Dr. Ruth, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show, Lynn. I'm so excited to be here and be your guest on the show, so thank you.
Well, and I just love this conversation that we're about to have because it's just amazing. And for all of you who are joining us for that very first time, I want you to take this moment right now. If you don't want to miss a single episode, please go ahead and subscribe to Claim Your Career Crown wherever you get your podcasts. And while we're on the subject, if you love what we're doing, then please give us that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate it. So let's just dive right in, Ruth, because this is just such an amazing topic and one I feel quite passionate about. And I want to get a little bit more of the backstory about what inspired you to get started and develop and do what you're doing.
That's a great question, because I wouldn't start with inspiring, but I guess it's been inspirational for me, the journey to get here. But I was working in the corporate world back in 2016, and I was really keen to make a family, get promoted in that year, and I was doing everything I could to do both those things. And at the end of the year, I thought I was on track for promotion, and I unfortunately had a miscarriage. And just after the miscarriage, I was put on an unexpected performance review by the firm, which was really took me back. And they actually told me at the time that I had no emotional intelligence, which was just a horrifying thing to be told, especially after experiencing a miscarriage, because I felt like an emotional failure by having no emotional intelligence, or them stating I had no emotional intelligence, and also a biological failure because I wasn't able to make the baby. And it just sent me downhill super fast, as I'm sure some people can maybe relate to when you hear unexpected news like that. And I started having suicidal thoughts, and my mum's father had death by suicide when she was only 6 years old, so it's something that runs in the family, and I didn't want to be going to that dark place, and I knew I was already heading there pretty quickly. So I reached out for coaching in the form of high performance coaching, and went on an amazing transformational journey. And as I went on that journey, I discovered Dr. Daniel Amen and the work he does at the Amen clinics in the States, and I thought, wow, that is what joins the dots between my PhD, which was in medical imaging and spectroscopy, and what I really wanted to do was help people truly harness their full potential. And so I certified as a brain health coach, and also a high performance coach on that journey, left the toxic environment that I was working in, and just was able to lose 27 pounds in weight, realised a dream of ski touring across the French Alps with my husband, and it turned out it wasn't just me that was ski touring across the Alps with my husband. There was a passenger on board, and 8 months later our daughter Lily was born. So So the journey to where I am today was a pretty tumultuous one, but I'm really grateful that I went on it, because I've not only seen it through the eyes of a client, but obviously I now can help people realize it and be the guide, as the coach, on helping people truly unchain their pain and
Yeah.
step into the person that they want to be.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely have gone on that journey yourself. And I'm really fascinated when you're working on to help people with their brain health and unchain the pain. I mean,
Mhm,
how do you do this? I mean, do you have a specific process? What's it
mhm.
like to work with you?
Yeah, so I do. So I look at the 5 pillars of brain health, and my background is also British Army officer as a reservist, so we like things super simple and easy to remember. So we look at the 5 pillars, which is remembered by the mnemonic FACTS, FACTS, and that came about because of my experience, actually, from the workplace. Is I didn't feel they were looking at the facts of my situation. They certainly didn't take into account the grief that I was experiencing. They certainly didn't take into account the environment. So what does FACT stand for? So it takes into F is for feelings, A is for
Yeah,
the actions that you're doing, C is your connections to yourself, your core values and beliefs, and also how you connect with others. But it starts first of all with having a great relationship with yourself. And then T is the thoughts that you're having and what thoughts you're actually listening to. And often we have crazy thoughts that we shouldn't say out loud, but we say to ourselves 1,000 times. And S is the surroundings that we're in and how our surroundings influence our brain health. And we know that our surroundings hugely influence how our brain functions through childhood, from birth, pre-birth, in fact, all the way through to who we are today. So we look at those 5 simple pillars, and then my clients do a deep dive into the 4 circles that make up their brain health, which is their biological, psychological, social, and spiritual circles, and focus on optimizing that. So it's quite comprehensive. It's like having it's like taking your engine, your car engine, to the workshop and having a deep clean and a full checkup to make sure that your car is functioning correctly, but particularly your engine, which is your brain, and that's your engine of life.
yeah. Well, that that sounds that's a great comparison and the that engine of life. And so as you put all this together in the journey you've been on and you're building out the solutions and the that you provide for the brain health and unchaining your pain, was there ever anything that held you back, that you had to sort of do your own technique on yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think, first of all, in the context of how I focus on supporting my clients, the thing that held me back initially was acknowledging that I really needed help. So the first thing was my ego held me back, because you kind of think that you're invincible. You go through life. I was going through the year. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was trying to do everything and achieving not a huge amount, and everything was kind of crumbling around me, and I was crumbling internally, and it was this perception of myself that I was invincible. I don't know if you ever remember the James Bond film. I think it's Goldeneye, where the gentleman, the baddie in the room, has this pen, and he keeps clicking it, and it's James Bond's explosive pen, and he has to click it 3 times, and he stands up and says, "I'm invincible," and clicks the pen that fatal last time. And that's kind of the situation I was in. Is you kind of think you can just keep going, keep calm and carry on, is the philosophy here in the UK. And it doesn't always work when it comes to yourself. Sometimes you just have to, carrying on is not healthy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to pause and take a break and take a piece of reflection and calm down, and just accept where you're at, accept that you do need help. And it's that acceptance piece that's firstly really important. And once you accept that you're struggling, it's much easier to unchain your pain, which is the first big step, because you're not in denial that you're okay. And I like, if people talk about mental health, don't they? And they in mental health we say, "Are you okay?" And it's a yes or no answer. And yes or no is 50-50. I don't want to be 51% okay and say I'm okay, which is often what people do. They're just over that line, and they say, yeah, I'm okay. And the reality is they're not optimal. And so brain health, for me is all about being optimal, not just being okay. So when I talk to people about brain health, going back to the 5 pillars, it's not are you okay, which is labeling you as being at fault. It's looking at, is everything okay, is a better question, because then people start getting inquisitive about what the root cause of the problem is. And it takes away the label on the person, it takes away the shame of the situation, and actually looks at what's really important is understanding the root cause of why perhaps you're not feeling so okay, by looking at everything in your environment, everything in you, everything in what you're doing, everything in how you're feeling, everything in how you're thinking, everything in how you're connecting with yourself and others and your surroundings. It looks at all of that and then helps you make sure that you're optimizing it, so you go beyond okay, but you want to be exceptional. But the first thing really, what's holding me back is ego.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that can manifest itself in so many different ways. And and I'm really fascinated by that thought that, the first thing that, you do is you have to sort of accept that the first, maybe the very first is the pause. How important it is to take that moment. It's like giving yourself a gift. So for clarity, so you can start to gather your thoughts, really assess, what am I feeling, what's going on, and start that process. And then the next piece is, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with a whole lot of things, and I'm not Wonder Woman. And how do I now, either get help myself, spend some time with that introspection, whatever it is that, you in the first step, that first big step, to get help. So I'm curious, for other people and the clients that you work with, what is it, the same thing that's holding people back, primarily their ego, or are there other things that are holding them back?
So there's certainly what they've generally got over the ego piece because they've asked for help. So that's kind of gone by the wayside, but they often, ego can come into play with regards to your feelings, in terms of them getting the best out of themselves, because they need external validation. So that we often grow up, society teaches us that in order to be great, you have to have that external validation. You have to get the best grades. You have to, success is seen as something that is external to you, and done, you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I've been recognized. I still have an ego. I haven't got rid of it. I still have one. It's really important for me to have an external validation of what I do, like getting awards. That makes me feel great, but internally is what's super important. So often people, their ego can get in the way. The other thing that often happens with my clients, or some of my clients, is this not feeling worthy. So the struggle for people to making progress is, I'm not worthy of having, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. This kind of not enough playback that goes on in their mind. And this can be, I'm not worthy of investing in myself at the outset. That people have never given themselves permission to invest in themselves personally. They've invested everything externally, in others, and especially for senior executives, it happens, They put all of their energy into helping other people and not enough energy into necessarily helping themselves. And they can sometimes find that quite difficult to give themselves permission to truly invest in themselves, to help themselves get to that next level of performance and potential. The other one is imposter syndrome. So people get to a certain level and they can't understand how they've got there, and so they start play negative self-talk is a huge problem in most of us, because we never get taught how to challenge it and take charge and be the boss of our brain. So it's like that negative. You really want to challenge the self-talk, and I spend a lot of time with my clients looking at their thoughts, because their thoughts is the background programming that's running in their mind. We might show up, we have a lot of people that show up, I'm really, powerful and strong and, outward going and everything, but internally they're crumbling because they've put on this external persona to meet people, to deliver whatever the role is that they have, but they haven't taken the time to listen to the background programs that are running in their mind, the software, and often that software can get super corrupted from our past experiences right back to childhood, and it's unraveling all of that and making sure we know how what software is running. We get rid of the programs that are not serving us, and we put in place the programs that do.
Yeah. No, I mean, negative Nelly or negative Ned, they, that subconscious part, and they certainly appear consciously as well, are always whispering in your ear. And just today when I was working on stuff, but I'm actually having a really pleasant, relaxed day, and negative Nelly whispers in my ear, well, you're not really working that hard today. And I have to, you have to go, wait a minute. That's not true. It's just not. It's I'm getting a lot of things done. It's just for once my day isn't literally packed minute to minute. And isn't that pleasant? Isn't that nice to have this moment to, just sort of to also let my mind think and wander about, what's going on and what I'm working on. And instead of just like, oh, get this done.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
you
and
all have those thoughts. I mean, and it's hard to train yourself to stop and say, well, wait a minute. What is this? Why am I having this thought? What does this mean? And it's just that driven, that, oh, I got to work hard. I got to,
this
that
always
part.
on as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
that is.
we've grown up now, especially with the digital age, is that we always have to be on because everything's always on, and therefore our brain always has to be on. But actually, our brain doesn't work at all well if it's always on. It's completely dysfunctional, and we need to reboot. Like, we need to turn our computer off at night. We need to turn our brain off at night, and we need to turn it off at a sensible time to allow ourselves to operate effectively. We're not 24/7 people, but we somehow think that, in the last 50 years, which is in essence how long computing has been out from a personal computer perspective, is not no time in the whole history of evolution, is that our brains have adapted, and they haven't. We are back in the cave person era. That's what we are, evolutionary evolved to be at this time. But we've put this huge amount of pressure on ourselves to be on. And actually, even since the 1900s, our sleep, we used to get about 9 hours on average at the beginning of the 1900s, and now we're down to 6.5. So we're actually declining from an evolution perspective. We're certainly halted in terms of our development because of the habits that we've created in today's lifestyle. And it's just really important we give ourselves that permission to breathe.
Yes, and have a relaxing day, in the sense of where not every moment is booked to the nines, and that we also are taking time to get that extra sleep. And I know that that's always a big piece for me, is that when I don't get my at least 8 hours of sleep. It really impacts me. And it's so vital. It just,
Mm.
because just like any other organ, your brain needs time to rest and reboot. And your brain is still active while you're sleeping in different ways.
Yeah,
So it's
it
just,
actually cleans itself when you're
yes,
asleep. So we need it to go through the cleaning cycle, like our washing machine needs to complete its wash cycle. So we can get rid of the rubbish and the junk that builds up in the day. And if we don't give our brain enough time to go through its own wash cycle, we get all of this junk build up in our brain, which causes a cognitive decline. So it's so important.
yeah. Well, this is like so powerful. And I guess, we're sort of in that perfect place that what we've been talking about. So, brain health, and we sort of deviated here about getting sleep, but it's part of brain health. But I'm really curious if you had something that you'd recommend to our audience that they should really take to heart, that they should do starting today or this week, maybe the sooner the better. What would it be?
Oh gosh, there's so many things that people can do. I think the first thing, which goes back to our conversation, is to give yourself permission to pause and allocate a pause time. If you feel that you are in the process of heading towards burnout or you're in burnout, it's your body telling you it's time to stop, and take a moment. And when I was going in that cycle of uh, spiraling into depression, I took time out of work to find myself again and understand what were the facts. Let's look at the facts behind why am I showing up the way I am? What's at the root cause of my problem? And it's really, you have to give yourself that permission to
Yeah.
stop, and take note and self-reflect, turn the mirror on yourself and have a moment of self-reflection, and just pause for you, because your body needs it and your mind needs it too. I think that's the most important thing. And then once you've acknowledged where you're at, this next step is to don't be afraid to ask for help. And Les Brown says, ask for help, not because you're weak, ask for help so that you may remain strong. And that is that truer than it is today. It's a strength to ask for help. You are being strong by doing that. It's not a weakness.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing people need to do.
Yes, I love that. What a perfect way to end. And that is so true that if you don't ask, you don't get. And it is going to be able to move you into a better place when you ask for and then receive help that you need. So, Ruth, thank you so much for sharing how to free your pain by stimulating brain health. And I know that our listeners are going to want to know more about you, where they can find you, and where they can find out more about you.
So the best way is to connect with me, or through my website. It's the simplest, ruthmaryallan.com. If you go to my website, you can go to the connect page, connect with me for a free 15-minute consultation to discuss your needs. And there's loads of information out there on my website to help you really unchain your pain, whether that's in the context of physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, and so on. So do just connect with me through my website, and I'm on social media everywhere on Ruth Mary Allan, so you can find me on social media there too.
All right, that's brilliant. And we'll put all those links down below. And Dr. Ruth, thank you so much. This has been such an informative discussion. And for everyone who joined us, thank you. We really appreciate your being here and tuning in. And if you have ideas that you'd like to share, you can, of course, leave us a comment down below. We love hearing from you and hearing your thoughts. And if you have a question or would like to suggest topics for discussion, you can email us at jointheconversation@petitequeen.com. And to stay current on all of our insightful advice, our breakthrough advantages, incredible episodes like the one today with Dr. Ruth, you can sign up for our weekly Wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we appreciate you. And Dr. Ruth, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure to have you here on the show today.
Oh, Lynn, thank you so much. Just a final message to your audience. Just you're not stuck with the brain you have. You have the power to make it better, and I can help show you how.
All right. Brilliant.
Thank you, Lynn.